From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Speaking with the Enemy.
Yes, it is a brand new episode of Speaking with the Enemy. The enemy this week, the BC Lions, and the manager of content for them is Matt Baker. He's with us now, Matt. It's safe to say that this is not the way the Leos saw the season going, was it?
Well, first off, Louie B, it's great to finally be joining you. A little quirk in the schedule. We're not seeing the Ticats till November, but it's been anything but normal this year, as we know. But what was the question? It's been a kind of a surreal trip, really. I mean, go back to around this team's first bye week, week 4 of the season. The team went into Ottawa, the pouring rain, pulled out a gritty, ugly weather win, and got back to 500, went on the bye, came back, beat Ottawa again, went into Montreal and performed really well. So 4-2, 3 in a row. And all of a sudden you're hearing whispers, maybe this Lions team is the surprise team in the West in 2021. But certainly it's taken a turn for the worse since then. 5 straight losses. But I'll tell you what, we're in Southern Ontario this week. I'm not at BC Place like my background might suggest. Just figured I'd try to emulate Louie B with the virtual touch. But this team's still very much in high spirits, still very much in control too. I just have to focus on this week against a tough Hamilton team. It's always tough playing here in Hamilton, but the playoff picture's still very much in our hands. Just need to win games. Don't need help, but have to get back to their winning ways. It's certainly been a roller coaster ride.
And it seemed like Saturday, you mentioned a roller coaster ride, because it seemed like Saturday's game kind of really encapsulated what the Lions season has been so far this year, right? There were highs, there were lows, there were times you thought it was in the bag, there were times you thought, that game was almost a perfect representation in 60 minutes of what the Lions have done this year.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That fourth quarter, it appeared as though we had it won and lost 3 or 4 times, right? And then Ryan Dinwiddie, Argo's head coach, loses track of the clock, loses track of the timeouts, I guess, and he takes a knee. And our coaches on the sidelines like, hey, we're getting this ball back. We're getting this ball back around midfield. And then, hey, unfortunately, you've experienced it, I'm sure. The kicking game, it's a tough job. It's not for the faint of heart, especially when you go outdoors and you're dealing with rain and wind. We're sure going to have some more wind this week. But, that game had it all. I mean, you saw some highlight reel catches, Dominique Rhymes, Bryan Burnham, Michael Rielly taking shots and finding his receivers, and that's going to bode well these final few weeks, having all those horses at receiver. Lucky Whitehead's back. An actual full week of practice for him this week, only practiced the one time last week. So, that's going to pay dividends. Mark Washington and the Ticats defensive staff are planning for all the elements there. So, you hit the nail on the head. Every game, it seems, right, comes down to those 4 or 5 plays, and you're looking at a different result. And all those 4 or 5 plays, it appears, came in the fourth quarter and overtime at BMO on Saturday.
Let's talk about Michael Rielly, because obviously he's proven himself to be an elite quarterback in this league. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there's no questioning what he can do, his abilities. What's been missing this season though, either for him or for this offense, that we just haven't quite seen that Michael Rielly we're used to seeing?
Well, it's our head coach, Rick Campbell, has said it time and time and again, because he gets asked the questions every day. You can't pin anything on one individual. People forget, I talked about that winning streak. Michael Rielly was leading the CFL in passing. He, I think, twice a top performer of the month, at least 2 other times a top performer of the week. So a big storyline in the first half of the season was all these veteran quarterbacks back to their old selves. But he'll shoulder his part of the blame, I'm sure. I'm not worried about him at all, to tell you the truth. I mean, sometimes the offensive line isn't going. Sometimes, it's a matter of a receiver missing a route, someone missing a read somewhere. They've had problems establishing a running game up until these last couple of weeks, but thankfully James Butler been okay out of the backfield, averaging 6-7 yards carry. That's going to be key, Louie, to start with a ground game, and it takes pressure off that deep play. So, Mike's a perfectionist. Michael, I should say, is a perfectionist, and he'll tell you he wasn't satisfied 6 weeks ago when he was going well. It's always, where can you get better? But I think, you give him time in the pocket like you saw in Toronto, he's going to beat you, and he's going to find a way to exploit you. And this offense is going to need that with 3 games to go.
Like the Ticats, the Lions have had their share of injuries this season, and you talked about the last few weeks been the struggle to get the offense going. I'm sure it's not a coincidence that with Lucky Whitehead out, you talked about how well the Lions were playing. I mean, Lucky Whitehead were people's runaway candidate for rookie or for MOP in the first few weeks of the season. Obviously, he had 2 catches for 20 yards. How do you feel like they're going to try and integrate him more in the offense on Friday?
Huge. He's a factor, no doubt. It was kind of a weird sequence of events. He suffers the injury, actually comes back in the second half, but I don't know if that was mainly as a decoy. He wasn't targeted once after the injury against Winnipeg. And then, like I said, the one practice day last week certainly may have had an effect on his involvement. Had a couple more targets. I mean, there's that one throw where just that close and he catches up to it, and you're probably looking at a touchdown and maybe a turn of events, right? So I would expect number 7 to be a bigger factor this week.
Bryan Burnham as well. He's working his way up through the BC Lions record books.
Yes.
I believe just less than 100 yards away from 5th all time.
31
there. It's 31 yards. So there you go. But he's somebody who obviously has played such a huge role in this organization. How again, similar question as the last one, but how do you expect Michael Rielly and Burnham to kind of reignite that magic that they seem to have some weeks?
Yeah, that's another good one. I mean, he's in a weird way, he's kind of almost been overshadowed this season because Lucky Whitehead has exploded onto the scene. And, I think all teams in this league, rightly or wrongly, have a bit of a lack of a better term, a bit of an identity crisis. Teams are looking for new stars, looking for new faces, right? And Lucky was that guy before the injury. So, Bryan Burnham, that's a guy that just gets it done quietly. You see when his ability to gain a step and separate and basically get to any of those deep balls that find his vicinity. So, this guy will go down. We're talking about the historical angle. This guy's going to go down as one of the Lions' all-time greats. I mean, moving up to 5th place and counting. We'll see what happens beyond this season, right? I don't think anyone's catching Giroy anytime soon, but there's some others on that all-time list that he's going to reel in other than just Mike Trevathan, hopefully this week. So, Mike, when this team was winning, Michael Rielly was using everybody. I mean, you go back and look, I try to keep track of the box scores. I mean, he's completing passes to at least 6-7 guys every night. There's not necessarily that one guy who leads the way with 100+ yards, right? So, Burnham, you always wait for that next big play, right? And he's made a few at Tim Hortons Field. We did a top 10 of him during COVID times. Remember those days you're looking for content? And so let's do a Burnham top 10. It seems like all the best ones came at Tim Hortons Field, and there was a big one at BC Place in September of 2018 too. So that's another one. He's going to have to keep clutching up for this offense to be clicking, no doubt. It's a treat to watch.
Rick Campbell, in addition to the head coach role he's also the defensive coordinator. And I have to ask, because the last few weeks, obviously a tough game against Winnipeg, but defensively, I don't want to say what's missing, but what do they need to do defensively against a good Ticats offense? We've seen Jeremiah put up some big numbers the last few weeks. I mean, this is a tough test for a defense that's struggled in the last few weeks. 2 words: pass rush. Yeah, pressure. That's what it always comes down to. And to their credit, they went out and found some raw guys that weren't necessarily familiar with the Canadian game. Guys like Obum Gwacham and Tim Bonner, who might be out this week. But, they elected to keep the secondary together. Of course, at linebacker, you got the experience with Bo Lacumbo and Jordan Williams, probably a good candidate for
for outstanding rookie, but they have to get to the quarterback first and foremost. And Masoli is another one of those guys that can make you pay with his feet too, right? I mean, you see what he's capable of now that he's had a couple weeks back leading your guys' offense. So if they could just be a second quicker in terms of getting to the quarterback, that to me is the number one key on defense.
All right, we know the Lions are coming into this one. It's a must win. You said it. So if the Lions win this game, what will they have to do?
Just kind of alluded to it. Line of scrimmage on both sides. I know we talk about it every week, and we've talked about the offensive line, the importance of keeping Michael in the pocket upright and establishing a run game. So. But it's never easy at Tim Hortons Field. I mean, your guys' offensive line, guys like Van Zyl, all those veterans, this is going to be one of their biggest tests. So if they can maintain that battle up front on both sides, that will be a huge key to success in getting that elusive fifth victory.
Matt, appreciate you doing this. It's always great to check in with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. I mean, that's ridiculous. I can't even believe we're saying that. Looking forward to seeing you in person on Friday here at Tim Hortons Field. Thank you.
Yes, that's been the joy of being back out on the road and being in the game day environment. We get to talk to actual people and not just their Zoom.
Yes. Well, enjoy your next couple of days here in Hamilton. Thanks for doing this, and thanks to you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Speaking with the Enemy is coming up next on Friday to get you set for the game when the Ticats host the BC Lions.
Speaking with the Enemy, dropping twice weekly before every Ticats game. Like and subscribe to get inside the Enemy's head.